Hey y'all, and welcome back to the full set review of the Universes Beyond Yu-Gi-Oh! Draft set. In this episode, we're going to be talking about the green-white cards. Now, I'm going to go over the grading system and everything here in a sec, but if you already know all that stuff and don't need to hear it again, feel free to skip to the time code on screen. We're going to go over every card in the set one by one, and we're going to talk about the Yu-Gi-Oh! Cards that inspired each one of those, how we translated them into Magic the Gathering cards, and then we're going to discuss how good those cards are, and when should you pick them in a cube draft. At this point, we have all had a lot of experience with this cube, enough to tell you how and when you should play each of these cards. We're going to use a grading system that goes from A to F. This grading system is only meant to tell you how highly you should pick the cards while drafting. And the grades go as follows. A is a bomb that you should often first pick. It can either win the game on its own easily, or is a part of a powerful game plan that is worth getting into as fast as you can. B is a solid card that draws you into an archetype, or a deck type, or a card that can efficiently interact with your opponent. You should pick Bs very highly. Cs are the bread and butter of your deck. Once you have an idea of where you're going, finding the right C-level cards is an incredibly important part of creating a consistent deck that won't just lose to itself. Don't pick these cards super highly, but you do want to make sure you have the correct C-level cards for your deck. D, these are either cards that just don't perform as highly as you want them to, or cards that fit only in very specific deck types. Often these are kind of like C-level cards, but they only go into like one deck, or they're cards with just low overall impact. There is certainly a right time to pick these cards, but it isn't early and it isn't often. F is a grade that we only give to cards that you should pretty much never pick under any circumstances, and if we gave a card an F grade, it probably means we need to buff that card. So, if you're curious about the set and want to learn more, I have left a ton of resources in the description, including a visual spoiler website that's easy to navigate, a Google Drive with all the images so you can print the set yourself, and a link to our Discord server so you can join us when we draft the set. With all that in mind, I hope you all enjoy this series of deep dives into the Yu-Gi-Oh! Universe Beyond draft experience. Think of it like a podcast series, with each episode covering a different part of the set. We're going to go over all the two-color pairs first, then each monocolor group, and finally colorless cards. But first, a word from our sponsor, MythAtom.com. MythAtom is an online store focused on products designed around the media we love. From game accessories to jewelry and more, MythAtom uses creativity and understanding to recreate many of the most iconic elements of our favorite nerdy stuff. They sent me some really cool items that you should be able to see on screen right now. I got a really cool MTG Commander deck box with this amazing stained glass look on the green deck box. It's got a nice case and pocket for your commander to show off as well. Yes, my commander's Mathis the Friend Seeker. No, I will not answer any questions about the deck. MythAtom sells other cool deck boxes too, and sleeves and binders and playmats and tokens, I mean, you name it. All your classic gaming items and accessories. But what's even cooler than that is the other item they sent me. This metal Colossus hammer keychain. This thing is gorgeous and looks just like the one from the card art. I'm going to put that on screen right here. It's very sturdy and weighty, and it's just a really well-made piece. They have a ton of others like this too, whether they're keychains, rings, or necklaces. MythAtom has some of the coolest metalwork nerd relics I've ever seen in a shop like this. They also sent me some glamour shots of the Colossus hammer that we can all marvel at right now. Ooh. Ah. So anyway, if you want to get something neat from this store, they gave me a discount code that you can use at checkout. It's not good. All one word, at checkout, to get an extra 10% off your purchase. That's It's Not Good at checkout. Thanks MythAtom for sponsoring this video. Now back to it. Alright, ready to move on to green-white.
Yes.
This is the color combination I've drafted the most, and there's a reason for that. Green-white is the emerge one. It has some other stuff you can build. It builds good into a go-wide strategy with tokens and stuff. It's got a couple of options in there that build into those strategies, but the main thing that it is an emerge strategy. And that means these are the base colors for the Monarch deck. So when you're playing Monarchs, you're going to pick a lot more green and white cards, and the rest of your Monarchs usually fill out your deck. Now, this isn't the only way to play Monarchs. I've built, Grixis Monarchs before. I've built red, black, white Monarchs before, but this is where if you're trying to play 5-color, this is the base you're going to use because there are a couple of cards that make Monarchs really easy to use, and other emerge cards really easy to use in this archetype. So let us look at our very first card in the archetype, Mystical Elf, which is a 4-star light spellcaster normal monster with 800 attack and 2000 defense. Thoughts?
Well, there was a time in this game early where the meta was setting 2000 defense point monsters, and this was one of them.
Darn tootin' rootin' and scootin'. This is quite the card.
Yeah. You can't kill a 2000 defense point monster without tribute summoning anything, and some of the tribute monsters wouldn't even get over it. This guy could just this gal, could stall for 500 years.
Yeah,
basically.
Super good, super good. Let's look at the Magic version.
And also, of course, Yugi's monster.
That's true. Need to make sure we talk about that. Okay, Mystical Elf is 2 green-white hybrids for a 1/4 creature elf wizard. It is a wizard because spellcaster, the closest translation of that into Magic, is wizard, but it could be argued that it should be a cleric, as spellcaster is broader than what Magic uses, but I went with wizard because wizards matter in my set. So next up, its ability says, creature tokens you control get +1/+1 and have vigilance, and you may treat this creature's mana value as though it were 2 greater. So what's happening here is, like I said, one of the things green-white can do is go wide with tokens, right? In green, there are like insect tokens, and in white, there are warrior tokens. So one of the things that can happen, depending on which kind of strategy you're going into, this can be played in an insect deck, right? Because it's in that deck, it's just green-green. It can also be played in a warrior's deck for white-white if you've got enough of those tokens, and it's just giving those creatures +1/+1 in vigilance. The extra text there is to turn your tokens into good emerge fodder. So instead of them being 0 as their mana value, it's 2. So it's actually that it makes it good to sacrifice your tokens for emerge. Really like this design. It's great. Don't get caught up too much on the mana value part there, though. It comes up, it is relevant, but the focus of when you're picking this card is if you've got a lot of token making stuff, where you want to give them all +1/+1 in vigilance. So focus on that part if you're trying to figure out where to use this card, is the tokens aspect of making them bigger. Despite that, I don't think it's like crazy. I think it's just an okay, decent card. I don't pick it very highly ever. It kind of just fits into my deck randomly when I realize I have like 6 token makers, right? 6 cards in my deck that can make good tokens. And then I'm like, okay, this card's not too bad at that point. It really wants you to converge all the strategies. You want token making and you want good emerge creatures. So it's really wanting you to do all of it. What are your thoughts, Aaron?
This card went through a lot of changes. I am very happy to see it this way now. Originally, it gave the creature that entered after it a shield counter after it died. Which was a clunky way of saying when you emerge something with this, then it enters with a shield counter. This was not very good,
right?
and then we had like a whole discussion about how can we make green-white more emerge focused, and realized that a lot of overlap was there with tokens and stuff. And so I'm really happy that the idea of Mystical Elf being a token lordess, I guess,
a token lady,
and token lady, yes, yeah, and providing that extra emerge value, I think was really clever overall. So I'm really happy with how it turned out. As for how strong it is, the 2 mana 1/4 is true to form, a very hard creature to get around, and it makes every token that you generate really sticky, which is nice. I'd say you do need some tokens to make it like playable in your deck. In green-white, you will probably have some things that make tokens. So I would probably say it's C+, honestly. Like the stats alone make it like a good staller.
I'm gonna give it quite a bit lower of a grade, but I still like it, and when it works, it's providing a lot to you in your deck. When the stars align and you have tokens, they're all bigger, and you have good emerge stuff like some Monarchs or something like that, making them all cheaper because your tokens are easy to use that way. It's all great. It's very powerful in that way. So the ceiling on this card actually is higher than a normal like 2-mana common should be. But I think that happens less often than maybe another card doing its thing, right? This isn't going to line up perfectly anywhere near as often as many of the other options we have. And so I think that puts it a lot lower for me because I think it'll play as a 2-mana 1/4 a lot more often than you expect. Which a 2-mana 1/4 in this set is not great. It's like fine. It's hard to kill. It's good early game to stall things out, so it'll do that job. But if your deck doesn't really make use of it, it's not crazy. So I would definitely give it like a D+. But if you really make it work, it'll sing. This card will really do a lot more than you think it can. Vigilance on those tokens, it goes way farther than you think it does. So yeah, I'd still give it like a D+. I don't want to go crazy.
I think I'd go with C instead of C plus maybe, because I do think there is like a lot of like, especially in green white, there are so many cards that make tokens. I think there's almost always some use for it. That's
true. Yeah,
that's my reasoning. Like totally. Especially in these colors, I think I like it, especially in this green and white color combination.
Yeah, me too. And I think that's where it will shine. You can definitely use it well with a lot of those things. And like I said, you could put this in a bugs deck and it'll work actually because there's so many insect tokens in green black. So all right, next card, Mystical Sheep Sent 2 or number 2
Sent 2. Yes.
Yeah, I don't know why it is like that, but like certain printings have that. I think the American printings, modern printings, have it as a number symbol, like a pound symbol, but I don't know where the cent comes from, honestly. Okay, so it is a 3-star Earth Beast normal monster with 800 attack and 1,000 defense. Yes. Anything to say about it?
Oh, lots.
Oh, shit, that's crazy.
I think, like, about your question, I don't know if this, like, where you get these images from, because there's no serial number on the bottom row, so I'm pretty much thinking, like, it's probably just a printing thing. I think most of them just have, like, a hashtag, too, for number 2. But what I wanted to say was there is this weird naming convention with a lot of these old normal monsters where they just have, Flying Kamakiri, number 1. And number 2,
It's so silly.
This exists for some reason. This is one of them, and funnily enough, some of them have like the number 1 is a normal monster, the number 2 is an effect monster. This is one of them too, because I think Mystical Sheep number 1 it's also in this set, but it's like a fusion replacement guy, right? And Mystical Sheep number 2, because there are 2 Mystical Sheeps for some reason, not more, not less. Exactly 2, is a normal monster. And then you also have like the numbered ones that are just, both normal monsters, both bad normal monsters. No one played Mystical Sheep number 2. Mystical Sheep number 1 was played, I think, specifically because it was a fusion replacement that had a specific type, and probably some decks used that for some type of reason. But yeah.
Flying Kamakiri is hilarious.
Yeah, Flying Kamakiri.
We'll get to that, but Flying Kamakiri 1 is like pretty good. Like it's got a really good effect on it, and Flying Kamakiri 2 is just a vanilla monster that sucks. It's so funny to me.
Yeah.
All right, let's look at the magic
card. Still don't
card.
know why they are named. That's
no idea. I wonder if it's a translation thing. It wasn't really that way in Yu-Gi-Oh in Japanese.
You think someone's creative writing department got a promotion?
Dude, I'm just saying. All right, let's check it out. In Magic, Mystical Sheep number 2 is 1 and 2 green-white hybrids for a 2/2 creature beast shaman. It has Vigilance, and when this creature enters or dies, create 2 0/1 white sheep creature tokens. You can already see how this can fit with the Mystical Elf, because then they'd be turned into 1/2s with Vigilance. They also will have more mana value for your emerge. This card is writing right on it saying this is for emerge, right? It enters, I make 2 0/1s, and when I sacrifice it for emerge, I get 2 more 0/1s for all of the blocking that I would want to do, or pumping them, or anything else I want to do with all those tokens. Super great for exactly those scenarios. I like the card. It also is just an incredible stall card. It can stall the game forever. This is 5 blockers, okay? You have the sheep itself, and then it makes, when it enters and dies, makes 2 more each time, right? This card is awesome. I actually think this card is pretty underrated in our gameplay, but you want to be a defensive deck usually with this, because it is, unless your opponent has trample or really good evasion, this is 5 blocks. That's so good. That's doing so much, and it's a lot of material that you can definitely use in your games. So I love it. Big fan. Great with Emerge. Just fantastic with Emerge to get you so much value on board when you're trying to play your bigger Emerge creatures. What are your thoughts, Aaron?
Well, I think as you mentioned, like the undervalued part, I think might be because like this was changed pretty late
Yeah.
into our process. This one I think had like give the thing a lifelink counter. I think
It
is
was
that the
two
one?
+1/+1
Um,
counters.
2+++1, yeah. We basically ditched like the whole counter thing because it became apparent that if you put counters on things in green white and then you emerge them, that feels terrible. So
Yep, yep, yep.
so we basically like went, okay, how can we give it under cute little reference here, by the way. Um, the sheep tokens are the same ones that we have on Scapegoat.
Yep,
So when it enters, it makes stray lambs, and when it leaves, it makes Scapegoat, basically.
yep.
So um, it's like this cute little, hey, look, we got the Scapegoat thing. It is very good, and yeah, it's very good. I do like, that you can just make a bunch of tokens to sit on and use them for emerge potentially. Even without the elf, you can just use them to emerge something for a little bit cheaper. You can stall with them. You can use them for all the go wide stuff. I really enjoy this hybrid because it's like both for the emerge thing and both for the white go wide thing
Hmm.
and for the green token thing. So yeah, I really enjoy it when it ties all of that together.
Yeah.
Oh, and it has vigilance, which is really nice because we and you'll see later. Anyway, as for playability, I think we can probably give. I think this is a C plus. This is a good C plus.
Yeah, I think so
Um,
too.
yeah.
You know what? I might not be fit first picking this, but I think anytime I'm in green or white, I'm giving this card a second look. I'm like, am I defensive? Or can I put like counters on all these creatures or give them +1/+1? Because like there's the card Carbonala Warrior that when it attacks, all your creatures get +1/+1 until end of turn. Or no, sorry, Fusionist. Fusionist gives all your creatures pumps, which we're gonna see here in a bit. If I got that, yeah, definitely Mystical Sheep. Let's count me in there. So like, there's a lot of places this card's great. There's so few places where you wouldn't even want this card. So if I'm in green or I'm in white or I'm in both or whatever, I'm looking at this card like, yeah, I will put this in. Of course, this is not like doing the powerful thing. This is a card that, you're probably happy to pick after you already know what you're doing. But remember, you need to have a game plan in this format. So once you've figured out what you think your game plan's going to be, what you're going to try and build, then you can know whether this slots into your deck. And you can also pick it before you know your game plan, but just don't prioritize it above big game plan defining cards, right? Does that make sense? That's why I give it a C plus rather than something higher in the B range, because while it's a great card, this is super good, you're picking it after you know what's going on, or you're not picking it to tell you what you're going to do. You're picking it to kind of fill in slots, and it's a great card for that, but so yeah, C plus for me.
I
All
mean,
right.
if you just pick this and play it without anything else, it's just
It's
a
still
stall
great.
thing because the 0/1 tokens don't really do much. They look cute though. I mean,
Yeah.
but that's it.
So it's like I think the one place you might not use it is if you're playing like a white aggressive deck that doesn't have like team pumps, like it can't pump all your creatures. If that's a scenario you're in, you probably don't pick this card because then it's just a 2/2 for 3 because your 0/1s aren't doing anything in that deck. But like that's so specific, so it's still a pretty good card. All right,
Yeah.
next card. Next card is Overwhelm. It's a trap card that says activate only while you control a face-up level 7 or higher monster that was tribute summoned. Negate the activation of a trap card or affect monster's effect and destroy that card.
Okay, so count. This is a pretty early counter trap, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think this was played much. If I remember right, this might have been like slightly played in Duel Links, but probably not really. And I think the condition on it was just too hard. You know, if you have to have a level 7 or higher monster, you usually didn't want to be playing counter traps in your deck. However,
Right.
negating an effect monster or a trap card is both pretty strong. It was just, too conditional. If you play a counter trap, usually, even in the early days, you wanted it to be playable early, and you can't play it early if, the problem is once you have a level 7 or higher monster out, what are you countering then from your opponent? What are you
Yeah.
stopping? Because then they've probably already played most of their things. And in the early game where you want to stop something, you don't have a level 7 or higher monster out, so it was never
Yeah.
played.
Yeah. That makes perfect sense to me. All right. Let's look at the magic version then. The magic version is 2 and a green-white hybrid for an instant that says this spell costs 2 less to cast if it targets a creature with Emerge. Note, this will trigger Neo. I just wanted to call that out. You can't target
Yeah,
Neo with
true.
it, but it will trigger Neo because it costs less than its mana value. Okay. And it says target creature you control gains hexproof and indestructible until end of turn. Then that creature deals damage equal to its power to target creature an opponent controls. So it is a protection and removal spell. I love this card. It is awesome. It's a very strong removal. It's good at it can 2-for-1 your opponent really easily. They go to target your, let's say, I don't know, a Monarch with a removal spell, and you go for 1 mana, I will stop your removal and kill your creature across the board. This card goes crazy.
Yeah, it does grow crazy. I mean, this is Tamiyo's safekeeping for plus a bite spell in
Yeah.
one, which is fucking nuts. Yeah, I also really like this card. I think like this is a high value removal spell in white or green for me. If I play white or green, or both, I'm definitely playing this card, no questions asked.
Yeah.
So I'd honestly say like it's probably the best bite effect in the set, if I'm honest.
Oh, yeah.
Um, yeah. So I'd say B plus for me, honestly, just because
Yeah.
it's high tier removal.
So this is like the first high tier removal spell we've seen, and I think it's because we're in the multicolor section. A lot of the high level removal spells are actually in monocolor, and so we'll see a lot of them later. But this should give you an idea of how efficient the removal is in this set. The removal is so efficient because it's keeping up with how broken some of the other early game plays can be, right? Ritual summoning on turn 1, reanimating for 2 mana, as we'll see later, some big scary threats. There's a lot of crazy things you can do, so the removal has to keep up with it. And this is a really good example showing you of a card that is trying to keep up with that stuff, but it wants to pay you off for certain archetypes to keep it in line. So 3 mana, while 3 mana is actually still pretty good for this card, actually, like 3 mana is still good for it. If you want to get it the most efficient and cheap way to keep up with the power of the format, you want to play it with emerged creatures. But that's not a big ask. Lots of decks are going to play emerged creatures. A large portion of the decks that you build in this format will have some number of emerged creatures, and this goes into any green or any white deck. I agree, super high pick. I would actually be comfortable first picking this because I know I have a really good efficient removal spell that will have my back whenever I'm in scary territory. B
And it
plus.
goes in 2 colors. It
Yeah.
goes in 2 colors. Yeah, B plus. Interestingly, like too, yeah, you can also use this as somewhat as a combat trick. When you're blocking and then you target the creature and it becomes indestructible, so you can like even kill things that have like, way higher toughness than the thing you're trying to
Yeah.
bite it with. You can still kill them in combat with this.
Yeah, or you
That's another
kill
thing.
2 creatures by blocking one, having yours that you would have traded with, give your guy indestructible, kill another one. You can 2-for-1 with this card pretty reliably. Yeah, it's pretty strong. All
Yeah.
right.
And the last little tidbit, the monster on the artwork is called Tyrant Dragon and is known for being immune to effect monster and trap card targeting. So there you go.
Interesting. Cool.
So
All right.
that's why Overwhelm has that text. Yeah.
Next up, we've got Angel 07, which is a 7-star light fairy effect monster with 2,500 attack and 1,500 defense. It says when this card is tribute summoned, it gains the following effect. The effects of effect monsters cannot be activated. Okay, tell me about it.
Fun fact. No one likes this card. Fun fact: this is hell, and we're
We
living
are
in
in
it.
hell.
No, the newest fun fact: there is a new format called Genesis format, and
Mhm.
there's this point system where you need to have like if you have
100
like a
points,
card that
yeah.
is 100 points, this is one of them. This is one of the cards that is 100 points
This
because
is
they
100
did
points?
not
That's
want you
so
to play this
funny.
card. Yeah,
That's
they
so
did not
funny.
want you to play this card.
Oh, that's
You
so
do
awesome.
not you do not get to play with this stupid fucking card. Yeah. Anyway.
I love hearing that.
Those are my fun facts. Those
I,
are my fun
I've
facts for Angel
I've
7.
definitely heard a couple people say that about me putting this in the set. Like there were a couple other cards that we put in the set were like that were nightmare cards that we took out, right? We were alluding to it earlier, but we had Mystic Mind, we took it out, and we had uh the what is it, the Draco Slaying King, what's he called? Masterpiece. We took him out as
True.
well.
Yeah, yeah. Masterpiece, yeah.
But this one we
That one
left
only
in.
made it in. That one only made it in because someone wanted it for some
Yeah,
reason.
they were telling me, oh, here's the crazy card you should put in, and I didn't realize it was crazy. Let's look at the Magic version though. The Magic version, Angel 07, is 5 green white for a 6/4 creature angel that has Emerge for 5 in a green white hybrid. It has flying because it's an angel, and it says triggered abilities of creatures your opponents control do not trigger, and the activated abilities of creatures your opponents control can't be activated. Okay, so just like the original, this is shutting down your opponent's creatures, but it's shutting down their abilities that put things on the stack. So if your opponent's creature has a static ability like flying, trample, first strike, lifelink, those still work. All of their static abilities still work. They just cannot activate activated abilities, and things like enters effects or dies triggers will not be able to be used. They will not trigger because of this card. So that's kind of things that it's shutting down. And yeah, it's pretty annoying. You try to play your Egyptian
I
god
mean,
card, well, it doesn't trigger, so I don't care.
yeah, this is. I think this is like this man. I think this card was fairly new. I don't think this was like in the first wave of Yu-Gi-Oh support. I think this came like at the start of
Mm,
GX or something.
interesting.
It also works the same way that the effects aren't negated of your creatures.
Yeah.
In Yu-Gi-Oh, they can't be activated, but it's still goddamn annoying. In Yu-Gi-Oh, there aren't as many static effects anyway, so that's the one saving grace. In Magic, there are enough static abilities to make this not a complete shutdown. You know,
Well, and
like your
also
first strikes and your hastes and your vigilances.
in Magic,
Yeah.
you don't rely as heavily on your monsters for your removal effects. In Magic, you use a lot more instants and sorceries to fill out your deck to respond to things like this. It's still really good because a lot of
Yeah.
decks will be like, hey, my great removal spell is Thestalos or is Caius, right? And if I
Hmm.
use a Monarch, it doesn't get its ability. I can't kill this angel with that. I have to have instant or sorcery speed removal to be able to deal with this card.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's right. In I think in Yu-Gi-Oh too, like in Yu-Gi-Oh early on, of course we had like spell and trap cards
Right.
removal for monsters, but a lot of the removal was relegated to the monster effects, like the Monarchs, for example.
Yeah.
In Magic, you just we turned some of the cards that aren't actually removal spells into removal spells, so now we have more of them. So it's
Exactly,
easier to
right
kill
here.
them. Yeah,
Yeah, it's a little bit easier to
yeah.
kill this
So
card. It's still powerful. Don't underestimate shutting down all your opponent's triggers and activated abilities. Like there is a lot less they can do when you do this to them. So very important to know that it is still really good.
I would say this is like this doesn't do like this is a threat by itself, but it doesn't, you know, give you a massive snowball effect or anything. I would say this is a B minus. This is a really
Yeah,
good shutting down card.
yeah. It's
Yeah.
flexible in what decks you can play it in because it can be green or white decks if you're going to emerge it. But do know that when you emerge this, you're not getting value. You don't get back the card you put into it to sacrifice to it. So that's, like I said before, always keep track of that kind of stuff. Does the emerge creature give me back value? Are the creatures I'm sacrificing to emerge also giving me value? If they're not, be aware of that because that might mean you're going down on cards over the course of your plays. And if someone has removal for this, you really did get 2 for 1. Like you go -1 that scenario. So, but it's still good. Shutting down all those enters triggers, dies triggers, all that stuff is just very, very good. Do not underestimate that effect. I'm going to give it a B minus as
Oh
well.
wait.
Oh, what's up?
Wait 1 second. The dice triggers are stopped too,
Yeah, triggered abilities, and dies triggers are a triggered ability.
but
They
they
do not trigger.
control, right? I mean, they
Yeah.
creatures they control, not creatures they own.
So triggered abilities of creatures your opponents control. Yeah, you control it when it dies. That's how that works.
Ah, I see. Okay, but
Like for
like
example,
effects
if
in the
I
hand and the graveyard would still work, right?
correct,
Like,
because it doesn't say cards. It has to be creatures that were on the battlefield, and dies triggers trigger off of them being on the battlefield. For example, if let's look at Mystical Sheep here. If I stole your Mystical Sheep, when it dies, I get the trigger because I control it, even though you owned it. Does that make sense?
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah. But
if you had
this is
Angel,
a
it wouldn't
very,
trigger.
very this is a very fun difference between Yu-Gi-Oh and Magic, because in Yu-Gi-Oh the effects, the dies effects happen in the graveyard, and if you steal a creature and kill it, and then try to
The
use its effect,
opponent
it
gets it.
activates the opponent's graveyard. Yeah, so
That's
it
so funny.
activates in the opponent's graveyard.
Okay, yeah, no,
So
this
that's a fun
works. Yeah,
difference.
yeah, this
Yeah.
works the way we want it to. But also, it only affects opponents, where Angel 07 from Yu-Gi-Oh affects both players. So, good to know there as well.
Yeah.
All right, yeah, B minus for that. Really good. Next card, Escalation of the Monarchs. Trap, continuous trap card. Once per turn during your opponent's main phase or your opponent's battle phase, you can immediately after this effect resolves tribute summon one monster. So you can tribute summon one of your
This was
monarchs on your opponent's turn. Yeah.
this was basically um this was one of the cards that came in the modern Monarch support wave. I think it was part of the Monarch structure deck. And yeah, it allowed for some fun things because with this smart design, you can of course turn your you know, Monarch spot removal into fun little interaction games with your opponent. Of course, you'd still have to be careful because in Yu-Gi-Oh, stuff misses timing, and you can't, put stuff on the stack like in the same way that you can in Magic. So it works a bit differently, but this was still powerful. And funnily enough, interestingly enough, I think this was played in True Draco more so than Monarchs, if I recall,
Mm.
because True Draco in True Draco you can, or maybe I'm just misremembering because True Dracos have also traps that have this, I think, this ability that lets you tribute summon during the opponent's turn. It's been
Hmm.
too long. I haven't read True Draco cards in a while, but basically, like you can mess with your opponent if you use these kind of tribute summon during your opponent's turn effects. And I recall True Draco playing this card. That's what
Nice.
I wanted to mention. Fun
We
little
see
tidbit.
in the art, I see Thestalos, and is that Mobius?
I think that's Mobius. Yeah.
Yeah, Thestalos and Mobius are in the art. Very good for them. Anyway, the magic version is Escalation of Monarchs enchantment for green white. It has flash. You may cast spells with emerge as though they had flash. Whenever you cast a spell with emerge, draw a card. This triggers only once per turn. Okay, so remember how earlier we mentioned that emerge with flash is really good because you're able to sacrifice something that they're targeting and do it on their turn. If they try and use removal on one of your creatures, just sacrifice it for emerge into play. Really, really strong. If any of you played back when emerge was first printed, one of the best emerge cards was Elder Deep Fiend. Elder Deep Fiend was a blue emerge creature with flash, and so you could do it on your opponent's turn as they cast removal, and it also tapped a bunch of stuff down. Elder Deep Fiend was awesome. What a cool card. So this makes all of your creatures with emerge or all your spells with emerge be able to cast at instant speed. Fantastic card. It does also pay you off by letting you draw cards. That was an additional thing that we added on to make sure the value of this card was there. There is power, but if it didn't have that draw card part, I think the card would actually be not very playable since you have to spend a card to put this into play and then use the effects. That's a big cost in
Yeah.
Magic, so the draw card I think is really important there. It's also good payoff. It makes you want to do this, want to use this card, and it also makes you want to emerge on your turn, then emerge on their turn to get two cards out of it because it triggers on each turn. So I like
Yeah.
this card a lot. I had a blast playing it. It's very powerful, actually. It is a super good effect, but it's also very specific, right? Probably a Monarchs deck is the best deck for this, so that's cool that it's for Monarch. But it doesn't have to be that. If you have enough merge cards in your deck and your little green-white, maybe a third color deck, this card's still really good. So I like this card a lot.
Yeah, and I really like that what you said about it not necessarily being monarchs only too, because that's exactly how it was in Yu-Gi-Oh too, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you have like this extra option of just playing it. And yeah, it's cheap to get down early. It gives you a huge upside in making your creatures very threatening. Um, Being able to be played at instant speed, and the drawing a card, just keep your setup going, don't run out of gas. It's everything the Monarch deck could want. I honestly think like, hmm. Okay, but you do need the one thing you do need is you need emerged creatures, and you need a lot of them for this to be worth it. Um, so I would say a C, if I'm honest. Um, because you need the stuff. You need the emerged
Hmm.
cards. Without emerged cards, this does nothing.
Hmm.
But if you have enough emerged critical mass, then this becomes a B, honestly. You
I
know?
would say if I'm thinking about how early am I picking this card, it's pretty early. Because if I get this card, my emerge deck is unlocked. Like I have done it. The emerge deck is going to start happening. And so I can pick whatever
Yeah.
emerge cards I can cast after that point. But this would be like an incredible starting place. I would first pick this card regularly. I think this is absolutely worth
Mm.
first picking to make the deck tick. Drawing that card every time, like you said, makes you not run out of resources. And that's a huge deal. Being able to surprise your opponent with, ambushes, kind of, you could even bluff against them. But the main thing is that an emerge deck really, really sings when you're not actually losing cards to play your other emerge creatures. I'd give it a B flat out, just because of that fact. Yes, you have to be playing emerge creatures, and you need a lot of them. But you can pick this very early, build your deck around it, and it's super worth it. You can pick this in the middle, like pack 2 of your draft, and go, oh, I should start picking more emerge cards, and it still works, right? So I think this is one of those cards where it's definitely a build around card. It is not a card you can put in any deck. But when you're building around it, it's so powerful and so important to that archetype that I definitely give it a B, maybe even a B plus. I would be very happy first picking this card.
Hmm. Yeah, that's interesting because yeah, I guess for me, like you need a lot of emerged things,
Hmm.
and we did mention that there's a lot of mana fixing. Like we have
Yeah,
plentiful mana fixing. Um, so I would say you could pick this card, but like on one hand, you need to be able to play it in green white, and then on
hmm,
the other hand, you could see it as like a card that you want to branch out with into more colors.
yeah,
So if you pick every emerge creature that you come across, you will have a five-color deck, right?
yeah,
It's not
yeah,
guaranteed that the emerge cards that you find are gonna be in green white.
yeah.
So
That's true. That's true.
if you pick this early, be prepared to take a lot of mana fixing too.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
would say.
that's true. I 100% agree with you there, and also be prepared to be taking those small creatures that provide value. Right? Make sure you're picking castable small creatures that you would want to sacrifice. But I think part of the reason why I want to
Yeah.
give it such a high grade at B plus is because, as I mentioned, it's very important to construct a game plan, and this card constructs a game plan very well. It's very good at doing that. I think that's why I put it so highly, is like, here is a card we can make a game plan around, and when you have a deck
Hmm.
with a clear, powerful game plan involved, then that's when you beat people more. It's when you have decks that are more successful, is the clear game plan. The games I watch where and play, in fact, I've built decks that are bad before in this format, but the games that you watch where people are flailing or struggling or doing poorly are not always the ones where their opponent like does something crazy broken and beats them. It's the ones where they're just casting spells for their in a vacuum value. Like they're just like, I'll play this 3-drop with some text that's decent. I've
Yeah.
absolutely lost where I was playing, like I said, I played an insect deck that was just kind of doing some stuff, but every spell I was casting was just doing its own thing, and there wasn't a greater game plan going on that was going to result in high power level plays, and I lost horribly. Even though I would be like, turn 2 I'll play a 3/3, 2-drop 3/3. Turn 3 I'll play a 3/4 with vigilance that can tap for extra mana. Turn 4 I'll play a 5/5 that gets a permanent back from my yard. And like all my creatures were above rate, and I got crushed still because it was just like, that's not good enough. You need a real game plan, not just cards that are good in a vacuum. So sorry,
Yeah. Yeah.
that's my needless to say long-winded way of saying, because this card is so good at helping you construct a game plan, I think that's why it's such a high pick.
But I would also like to mention, like, real quick, of course, like, there are a lot of emerged creatures in this set, but it is still entirely possible that you do not find emerged things after you pick this card.
Yeah,
So just
that's
be aware
true.
of that.
And I think be aware of that, meaning if that happens to you, be comfortable letting go of this card. Going, you picked it, but you don't always play the cards you pick, right? So be aware that, like with anything powerful that is very specific at what it wants from you, be ready to abandon it if you have to, right? Same thing with this card. Be ready to abandon it if you're not getting the emerge cards you need. So, all right, next card is Fusionist.
Be ready.
B for be ready, exactly. Yeah. 3-star Earth Beast Fusion monster with 900 attack and 700 defense. Holy man, I cannot believe this card.
Fusions are awesome, man.
They're so
what a great mechanic.
You fuse Petite Angel and Mystical Sheep too to get this card. Oh man.
Yeah, but don't you love that? Don't you love fusing 2 stronger monsters into a monster with 900 attack?
That's so bad. What happened, dude? What happened?
Yeah, no. This is the culmination and the most infamous fusion monster of all time for being the absolute worst fusion monster ever printed. Right?
That's awesome.
And that's why I love that it's here. That's why I love that it's in the set. You know, it had to be, especially that we have Petite Angel and Mystical Sheep number 2, that we have them in here, that you can fuse them legitimately into Fusionist.
And it's really good.
There were so many things. Yeah, we had to look at, like, making sure you can actually play Fusionist, and we had to give Fusionist abilities and all that. But yeah, this is like emblematic of old fusions and how utterly useless they were. But can you believe it? Fusionist did see play.
No.
It did see play. You want to know why?
What the fuck? Why?
Because instant fusion exists, and you can, instant fusion out the Fusionist and use it as material for something else. That's really the only thing.
That's so fun. All you needed was like a 3-star monster. That's why you did it, and it was the funny one. So they did the funny one
in a can,
Yeah, that's what they wanted out of it. That's so funny, dude. Okay, let's look at the real card for Magic. The Fusionist is 3 green white for a 3/3 creature cat angel. It has fusion for 2 and a green white hybrid. You need 2 creatures with mana value 3 or less. It's got to be 2 small creatures. It can be tokens, so that will work with it. That's on purpose. It has flying, vigilance, and lifelink. And whenever this creature attacks, other creatures you control get +1/+1 and gain flying and lifelink until end of turn. Untap them. So this is for going wide. This is for your tokens. This works great with Mystical Sheep number 2. The thing about Mystical Sheep number 2 is if you sacrifice this to fusion summon, you'll get 2 extra sheep, but also you can just sacrifice the 2 sheep it made to do the Fusionist. It's really strong. These 2 cards go really well together, and if you're going almost wide like that, almost like they're materials, and if you're going wide like that with this card, you get these pumps on all your little 1/1 tokens that now have flying, lifelink, and what is ostensibly vigilance because they untap after they attack. That's why it's worded that way, by the way. After the attack trigger, you can't give something vigilance because it's already tapped, so you just untap them in the trigger. I've played with this card. It's pretty good. This card crushes. Giving all of your dudes flying is... You can't underrate that. You cannot underestimate how good that is. And this card's fusion requirements are very simple and easy. It's just 2 creatures with mana value 3 or less. You could put this in any green deck and any white deck, and it'll pay you off for having a wide board. If you don't have a wide board, or you're trying to make this your key card, it's a lot worse. Because then it's just a 3/3 flying vigilance lifelink, which is like not a horrible card, but it's a lot worse than getting a full team pump that swings in the sky. Huge fan of this card. Put it in your going wide deck. This is not really for the other green white decks. It's not for your emerge deck. This is for the going wide deck with your tokens, right? This is for that token sort of strategy. But The power is definitely there. It'll definitely end games with those attacks, and the lifelink is huge. The lifelink is massive for this card for winning races, getting that vigilance for good blocks. I don't know, dog. This card's so good for a lot of scenarios when you're the attacking player. You're a player who's just trying to have turn by turn aggression. This is very very good at doing that. If you're trying to beat the combo decks by playing this and then a one well timed removal spell on their bomb, that's a really good strategy that works. Your Overwhelm plus all of these crazy cards will do the trick. I want to give this honestly a pretty high grade. I would even be comfortable first picking this because I know what potential it has. It's not broken, but if I put this into play on turn 3 and then next turn attack for like 8 damage in the sky, lifelink vigilance, I don't know. I think that can end a lot of games pretty well. So it is vulnerable to most removal, right? It's a 3/3. It dies to lightning bolt. It dies to probably overwhelm and all those other things, and then the real hard removal kills it too. So, but I'm a big fan. What are your thoughts, Aaron?
Well, first of all, I just appreciate that this is one of the worst cards ever made, and it's now a very, very capable card in the
Yeah,
set.
yeah,
That's
it's very
I'm
funny.
very happy about that. Yeah. And yeah, I would not put it as high as you,
Yeah,
honestly. I would probably make it like a C plus because for me, yeah, it's strong, but you still need to invest like 3 mana and 2 creatures into it. Those
yeah,
can be tokens, but still, you need to invest 2 things into it, and then it has summoning sickness, so there is a turn where it just sits there, does nothing, and then your opponent can kill it because it's a 3/3. That's a
yeah.
possibility. But the other thing, I just appreciate, that every deck has a little fusion guy that they can go into. I think that's really cool.
Hmm.
I like that every archetype has sort of like this fusion thing going on. That it's not just, oh, well, you need polymerization and then you can do this. No, everyone has their own little fusion monster and they do their own little thing. I think that's
Hmm.
really cool.
Yeah, I
Um,
thought it was pretty
so-
important to let every archetype play with emerge and fusion in some way. There is, as we'll get into
yeah.
later, a color combination that is meant to cheat with fusion, is meant to break fusion, but that's the one that's built around fusion. But cards like Fusionist
Yeah.
are for decks that are not built around fusion. It's just a good fusion monster that you get to play. Because I think there's such
Yeah.
cool ways of translating Yu-Gi-Oh's iconic mechanics that I wanted everyone to get to use them as much as we can. You know what I mean? So, yeah.
Yeah, and funnily enough, I think the blue-red one has no fusion monsters of its own. I think it just steals all the fusions from other colors,
Oh
which is
no,
very
it
fitting.
it, it has it has two fusion monsters actually. We'll see them. I'll show you.
Oh yeah, right, I remember. But yeah, it does mainly steal every fusion monster it
It
can find and
does,
just plays it. Yeah.
which is fun. I think it's so silly.
But
Like these are off color, but I'm
yeah,
stealing them because I can cheat them.
yeah, that's the point of them. And I think this one, if you have to go wide thing, it's good, but you need the setup. I do like the simple fusion requirements. I think it's a C plus, honestly. I
I,
would
I
not pick this too early, I think.
I talked it up a whole bunch, but I agree. I would also only give it a C plus, but it's definitely got a lot going on that I guess I probably wouldn't first pick this, but
But
it's
then
pretty
the other
good.
hand, on the other hand, you have an angel and a sheep, and you make a cat with wings. I
It's
mean, that's gotta count for
crazy.
something.
All right,
Yeah.
next card. Here is the Monarch for green whites, Kuraz the Light Monarch, 6-star light warrior effect monster, 2400 attack, 1000 defense, and it says when this card is normal or special summoned, you can target up to 2 cards on the field. Destroy those targets, and if you do, each player can draw 1 card for each of the cards they controlled that was destroyed by this effect. This card cannot attack during the turn it is normal or special summoned.
Okay, so this card has a very funny history. Remember how I talked about how Konami made those 2 weak monarchs that trigger on special summon, right?
Yeah, how
Before they went on to the
Delg is
model ones.
trash
Yeah,
dog.
yeah. This one is one of them. However, this one is not trash.
Yeah, no, that does not look trash
This
to
one,
me.
no, no, no. This one has a very weird history. Okay, so for context, some effects in Yu-Gi-Oh can miss timing. Um, if effects are worded a certain way, if you like destroy something and then draw cards, you can't get the destroy trigger because the drawing the cards was the last thing you did.
What?
But but
Yu-Gi-Oh, what the fuck are you doing? What?
yeah, that's a really big meme
That's
for people
so
looking at.
stupid.
But however, Kuraz is worded in a way where the drawing happens at the same time as the destroying. So
So it doesn't replace the
so
destroy?
it does not miss. Wait, am I saying this right? You can target destroy those targets. If you do, each player can draw one card. Uh, I think it is. Oh god damn it! Don't let me lie here.
You're fine. I'll look it
I'm
up and
actually
then I'll
not sure if
delete this part if you're lying.
yeah. No, but I think this like what I know Kuros for is that you destroy stuff like Gear Town, which when destroyed lets you summon a big 3,000 attack point monster from your deck, and then you draw cards, and then you still get the monster and stuff. You have like combos in Edison format
Yeah.
too, where you would just destroy stuff with Kuraz and then summon some big things and draw a bunch of cards. You would mostly destroy your own things with this. You would
Right.
never use this to destroy your opponent's things. And
Well,
it's very important that you can.
I could definitely imagine it's one of those
No,
things where it's like an edge case where it's like, does your opponent have something left over that they would chain into something important, or something where you'd rather them have a random card in their deck than whatever's on the board? I can imagine that being
yeah,
a scenario, but it's probably, but I read it and I immediately was thinking killing your own stuff, getting your own triggers, stuff like that
yeah.
first. So
If you're playing this card, your plan is to blow up your own shit.
right,
So that,
right. If you're
that's
killing
that's
something
what
of
it
your
was
opponent's,
for.
it's edge case scenario. It's not your main plan ever.
Yeah, yeah. And you probably didn't want to do that because letting your opponent draw in Yu-Gi-Oh is very scary.
It's very
But
scary. Yeah.
it is super good that you can special summon this and get the effect. So yeah, this one
True.
was the good one of the two. This one was the good one of
It
the two. I
seems
think
so
it
good.
yeah
Well, you
was
you can't
appreciated
special summon
majorly.
the you can't special summon the magic one. Sorry. We
Yeah,
wanted
I
we wanted
mean
them to be
it's fine.
consistent, but in Magic, Kuraz is 4 green white for a 5/4 legendary creature Monarch Cleric. Has emerged for 3 in green white. It has Vigilance, and it says when it enters, if you cast it, destroy up to 2 target non-land permanents. For each permanent destroyed this way, its controller draws a card. So, very similar actually. The big difference between this and the Yu-Gi-Oh one actually is you are very likely to target your opponent's stuff. In Magic, giving your opponent's cards is bad, but killing things in play is more valuable. It is better in Magic to be able to do that because they had to pay mana and put resources into the things they put in play. So by destroying them and letting them draw a card, it's like you returned those things to their hand, but even better because a random card off the top of your deck is worse than the card you have in play. This is because you could draw a land that you don't need. You could draw a card that you cannot play. Or you could draw a card that you can play, but it's just worse than the card you had in play. Yes, there are going to be times where you do this and you target theirs and they draw the best card in their deck. They were gonna draw that card eventually anyway, because Magic is not so limited to having a lot of stuff happen really early on. This ends up being very powerful. Now you can destroy your own stuff and draw cards, and that's good. Killing your sheep token to draw a card is totally fine. But I would believe that most of the time with Kuraz, you are targeting your opponent's stuff because it's a lot better in Magic than it is in Yu-Gi-Oh. I've played up plenty of cards that do this kind of effect where it gives your opponent some stuff, but the removal is a strong enough form of removal that it's worth using anyway. And this is another card like that. So
Oh yeah, but the fun thing here is too that even in Magic, like there is also a world where you just want to blow up your own tokens or something and draw two cards, which is like really really nice.
yeah,
Or I don't know, destroy like the sheep or whatever and draw two. It's decent.
yeah,
I really and there's also of course all the emerge. I think this card is like super good.
yeah,
I think yeah. For me, this is like a solid B, um,
yeah,
if not B plus.
yeah.
I would always find a use for this.
I think the only reason I'm not going to give this an A- is because you do have to be able to pay green and white mana for this. It's not like one of the ones that has hybrid costs. All of the Monarchs, you have to pay their actual colors. And if this was one of the hybrid ones, I'd give this an A- because that's such a powerful ability to flexibly get rid of anything, or even just draw cards off your own cards you're not using anymore.
Destroy two non-land permanents. That is very strong. It's just offset by the fact that they get to draw two, which is fair, of course. But
yeah, but you're usually fine with that. You're like, you're not. This doesn't put you up on card advantage. What it does is it puts you up in a lot of other ways, like tempo and sort of flexibility. You shut down what they're doing on their side of the field. The only thing you don't get is card advantage by destroying it this way like you normally would. Normally, killing two of your opponent's things is +1. In this scenario, because it's a creature, it'd be +2. This doesn't give you the plus, but it does everything else you'd ever want to, right? Imagine this card said, when it enters, return 2 target non-land permanents to their owner's hands. That'd be insane, and that's kind of what this is doing, but better. It's actually better than that in a lot of scenarios, so offensively anyway, it's better. Yeah, I'm going to give this a B+. And like I said, the only reason it's not A- is because you can't just put this in any deck you want to. You got to be able to cast it properly.
Yeah.
All right. Next card.
I really like this translation, though. I really am glad that this is here. And
me too.
Probably will get reprinted in Edison because I think it has a unique use there too.
Sure. I think one of the things I like about it also is that flip in design where it's the same. It's pretty much the same effect, but in Magic, you use it the opposite way you would use it in Yu-Gi-Oh, which I think is very funny. Okay. Next card is March of the Monarchs, which is a continuous spell card that says tribute summoned monsters you control cannot be targeted by or destroyed by card effects. You cannot special summon monsters from the extra deck.
Yeah, okay, so this card was one of the, this was in the original Monarch structure deck, and was one of the, new support pieces for the archetype that they made out of it. And you can see the theming here. They basically said, yeah, you get to play Monarchs, but you don't get to use your extra deck. That was the entire point.
Yep.
A lot of the cards in the modern Monarch cards also say, if you have no extra deck, you get to do something. This is basically like really strong protection. I think, the Monarch deck played it because it made your monsters a bitch to get rid of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very cool. Love it. Our translation in Magic is 1 green/white for an enchantment that says creatures you control with Emerge get +2/+2 and have hexproof. And then creatures you control cannot enter the battlefield from your graveyard or library. So instead of giving it like indestructible and hexproof, because I feel like that would be going too far with this card, we decided to just say make the creatures bigger so they're harder to be killed. And then give them hexproof so they can't be targeted like the original one. Still crazy. We also broadened it a little bit. Well, not broadened it. Yeah, tribute summon, emerge, same thing. So while it says Monarchs, you can use this with non-Monarch creatures. Don't worry, it's not just Monarchs going on here. And then that last ability is
the Yu-Gi-Oh card.
Exactly, just like the Yu-Gi-Oh card. And that last ability there is to kind of limit the way you're using things. It is similar to, you can't use the extra deck, but it's like, you can't play fusion monsters with this. You can. Oh my gosh, this works with fusion. That's so weird!
Yeah, that's an oversight. That's an
oversight.
I would address that somehow.
I think the reason, it was, creatures you control cannot enter the battlefield from your graveyard or library. Okay, so one of the reasons I think we did this was so that it wouldn't stop creatures who entered like from blinking or something like that. Maybe that's not necessary, but I think that might be why. Because I feel like it originally said creatures you control can't enter the battlefield from anywhere other than your hand. I think that's the original one.
Yeah, but the rituals, I mean we did the hand thing with the rituals, that it searches first and then you can put it from your hand on the battlefield. I feel like it should have that text that you can only, like, that creatures can only enter from your hand. I feel like that would make more sense.
Yeah, maybe we will do that. I'll write it down because that makes more sense. You shouldn't be able to fusion with this. You shouldn't be able to fusion with this.
Also, it's like though, because then you have like no way to get rid of this, of course, unless you somehow kill it yourself, and then.
Well,
but
you could get rid of the enchantment. I guess someone could kill the enchantment.
Yeah, that's true.
You could also target this with Kuraz. if you needed to get
true.
rid of
Yeah,
it.
that's true. That's right. Yeah.
It's silly.
Yeah.
I don't think you would want to do that, but it is funny that you can. I think the power level is certainly there. +2/+2 is a pretty big stat bump, but because you're playing emerge creatures, you're not going to have like a wide board that gets this pump, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're usually getting 1 or 2 creatures that get the additional buff. It's really the hexproof you're playing it for, but the +2/+2 is by no means bad or small. It is actually super great to kill your opponent faster that way, right? Imagine your Gaia the Fierce Knight comes into play, now has hexproof and is a 7/7 attacking with haste. That's pretty strong. But it's it wants you to be playing fair and square with this card.
That's the thing, right? The downside, especially if we change it, is really damning, because fusions are a big part for a lot of decks, and revival, like graveyard revival, is also a big thing. But the upside that you get is that every one of your big creatures is basically like immortal from targeting, at least, and really hard to kill. So it's a trade-off, I would say. Yeah. I think it's fair that you get like this huge swing in power, but then you can't use your fusion monsters,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I do think that this is not like the other card. Hold on, I gotta sneeze. I think this is nowhere near as important or powerful, or not power. Powerful is the wrong word. It has high power, but it's not as necessary or like it's not a linchpin of the deck for emerge decks compared to Escalation. I wouldn't first pick this card. I would first pick Escalations, but not this card. This card, I think you end up picking it when you got enough of the emerge creatures and you're in green-white and you're like, oh, this card will probably kill, and you don't have any fusion stuff going on, you're not doing any reanimating, you've already, pack 2, right? It doesn't need to be as late as pack 3, but you're in pack 2, and you see this card, and you're like, this could work, this could end up going with my deck, it doesn't cut me off, but you don't want to pick it super highly, because if you do, you're telling yourself, I'm not going to do any reanimating, I'm not going to do any cheating from the library, right? And so, you need to already be in that status. You can pick it in pack 1 saying, if I end up there, then I'll play it, but I don't think that when you pick this, I don't think you purposely stop getting fusion cards or stuff like that. I think you still, sometimes if the fusion card is good enough or worth it, you pick it anyway and go, okay, I guess I'm not playing March of the Monarchs, because I think that that's the way this happens. This card is not going to be something that you plan your entire deck around from the get-go. I think you put it in after your deck already works with it.
Yeah, makes sense. I would give this like a C, because it needs the specific setup.
Yeah. When I've played so far, this card has not actually felt super crazy. I might have just not gotten the right draws, but it didn't feel as important or as good as you would think. Because on paper you're thinking +2/+2 and hexproof. Okay, you can't destroy these creatures without death touch or a board wipe. Your creatures are going to be too small. That's hexproof. It means my emerge creatures are just hard to kill. But I had to pay 3 mana, and then I have to make sure an emerge creature or more is in play for it to really be doing stuff. I'm gonna give it. Yeah. I'm going to give it a C-, I think, because I just don't think it's really getting there a lot of the time.
Yeah, that's reasonable.
Yeah. All right. Next card is Petite Angel. Hey, this goes into the Fusionist. It's a 3-star light fairy normal monster with 600 attack, 900 defense. Word. Yeah, I mean, it's hilarious that it's stats are really close to Fusionists. It's so funny, dude.
But one of the other fusion materials has more attack than it, so that makes it uneven again.
It's so funny, dude.
Yeah, it is a quick moving and tiny fairy that's very difficult to hit, though. So you gotta factor that in. Yeah, I think that I just mainly love that we have this here as the fusion material, together with Mystical Sheep #2, that we have this for Fusionist, and we needed this here because we needed to pay homage to the terribleness that is Fusionist. So here you go.
All right, let's look at the Magic one. Oops. The Magic one is Petite Angel is 1 green-white for a 2/3 creature angel with flying and lifelink. When this creature enters or dies, Look at the top 5 cards of your library. You may reveal a card with Emerge from among them and put it into your hand, then put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. So, uh, Aaron alluded to this earlier, but the Sheep had Vigilance, and this card has Flying and Lifelink. So when you put them together, they make the Fusionist, which has Flying, Lifelink, and Vigilance. So wanted to call that out. It is funny that it does that. Yeah.
Yeah.
This one explicitly wants you to be playing Emerge, though, just like the last couple cards are. It can draw you 2 cards as a Flying, Lifelink 2/3 for 3. So it's getting you quite a lot of value if you put this in your deck, so long as you actually have the Emerge cards to hit. But I would say, even if you only hit on one of these triggers, so in 10 cards, you only get 1 card out of this, I think it's worth it. I think it's a good enough card. I think that's what's interesting about it.
Oh, yeah.
It can draw you 2 cards, but if it draws you only 1, it's still worth it. It's still a good card, and it's great to sacrifice for Emerge, and it gets you 2 an Emerge card to sacrifice it to. Like, it's doing everything you want with your Emerge deck. I'm a huge fan of this card. You don't even need to play a ton of Emerge for it to be decent. Like I said, if you hit 1 Emerge in 10 cards, that means on average you only need 4 Emerge cards in your whole deck to hit that way. It's worth it at that point, in my opinion.
And it's also like the body on this thing, as a Flying Lifelink, is really, really nice. It's just a really nice way to like also stay alive, while you're trying to find the resources to emerge it. This was another card that we changed. I think before this either gave like some keyword counters or something.
It's like flying vigilance or something like that.
Flying counters, yeah. We changed all of the counter stuff to this gets values when it enters or dies, and I think it feels much better this way. This is also nice because you can just fusion into Fusionist with this while it's on the field, and then you get the value from that.
Yeah,
awesome. It's all kind of nice.
Again, I'm not picking this super highly, but it's just such a great card that once I'm near this deck, right? I'm near green-white, I'm thinking about Emerge, and so kind of the cards I'm looking at, got a Monarch or 2, kind of thinking in this direction, this card's pick rate goes up so much higher once I know that this is something I would want. It is a card that, like, if I was able to construct a 40 card like limited like draft cube deck, but I got to choose what cards were in it. If I'm building my Emerge deck, this goes in it. Even when I get to choose what I want in the deck, this definitely goes in it. So once you know you're going in that direction, even just a little bit, you might have the hint of that direction. This is absolutely worth picking up at that ability. Which for me, honestly, I'm still say C+, because again, you got to be green and white. You have to be able to cast this properly, but it's awesome. Like, I can't wait to pick this once I know I'm there. So
I think C+ too, because if it's any higher than that, you need something, it's harder to make work if you don't have a lot of merge stuff.
And it's not winning the game on its own. It's great value, good blocker, good Emerge like option, but it's not winning the game on its own. But do remember, we did talk earlier about how you really do want card advantage if you can find it. So that's another reason why this card really goes up. You want to make sure this is card advantage. So, all right, C+, next card. All right, Rescue Cat is our next card. 4-star Earth Beast effect monster with 300 attack and 100 defense. And it says you can send this card to the graveyard to special summon 2 level 3 or lower beast monsters from your deck. But their effects are negated. Also, they are destroyed during the end phase. You can only use the effect of Rescue Cat once per turn.
So this is a card that surprised me to see in this set. Because this is definitely a card from the 5Ds era, and it was also banned.
Yep. That's actually why it made it in, was because it was banned, actually.
Yeah. Wow, that makes a lot of sense, surprisingly. Because like this card by itself, in the synchro era, this was like a 1-card level 6 synchro. That was a very big use for it, I think. Is it? God, I'm too. My mind is a bit scrambled, but I think it's legal in Edison, or was it banned already? Anyway, it's like around that era, and one of the best cards in that era, known for a very long time. I think nowadays it's legal. I'm unsure if it's played or not. but this one was a house in the day, and it's adorable,
Yep.
and yeah,
It's
has a
funny.
lot of history, like
I
especially for the
think
synchro era. This card was yeah,
I think I was
huge.
getting into learning more about good cards and good decks when this was around, and that's why I also have
Hmm.
memory of it. Like I have fond memories of Rescue Cat, even though it was crazy. And in my household, we didn't keep fully up to date on the ban list very well, even though we started playing with
Hmm.
like synchro and powerful stuff with my dad and my brother. And so
Yeah.
I think my dad was playing decks with like Rescue Cat in them even while it was banned, and we didn't realize it. And it's like, wow, this card seems really crazy. Like, so it's
Yeah.
very funny.
And it
A lot of memories with this card actually.
Yeah, and the rescue cat was so iconic that they made a bunch of rescue monsters going forward, like rescue
Yep.
rabbit and rescue ferret and
Mm-hmm.
rescue hamster, I think. Yeah. So there you go.
All right. So the magic version of this card is going to be 2 green white for a 2/1 creature cat. It has tap, sacrifice this creature, search your library for up to 2 creature cards with mana value 3 or less, and put them onto the battlefield. Then shuffle. They gain haste. Sacrifice them at the beginning of the next end step. Okay, so this can't be done on the turn you summon it, right? That's a big difference between the original Rescue Cat. It has to survive a
Yeah.
whole turn cycle, and it is tiny. It is a 2/1 for 4. Your opponent can kill it with a Stiff Breeze. So, being able to have it stay alive and then get its ability is great. It does a couple of things that Rescue Cat doesn't do. The abilities are not negated. You still get your enters abilities. You still get your dies triggers too, because it sacrifices them at the end step and it doesn't banish or exile them. They also get to attack because you put them in and they get haste. You can attack with them immediately. This is all just the value part of it, not to mention how good Rescue Cat is at setting up for an emerge turn or a double emerge turn or a fusion turn, right? That's what Rescue Cat is built to do. It is super good at doing that too. Uh, it doesn't have really any restrictions. I didn't make them have to be beasts like the other like Rescue Cat does. I wanted you to be able to use this in any way you wanted. It does make it way more powerful, but again, it's got to survive a turn cycle. Your opponent can kill it with literally anything that can kill creatures, and so if it survives, I wanted you to get paid off with a big payoff with this card. So that's what
Oh
Rescue
yeah.
Cat's doing. What are your thoughts, Aaron?
Well, uh, if this was any kind of um, not this format, this would be insta banned, I think.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, not
Like
I don't
this is.
know. If this was like in
I
modern, I
mean,
feel like it would be like, yeah, you can just kill this with lava dart for free, and it doesn't
yeah.
really
I
like
mean,
gut
you
shot.
can kill it. That's true. But like the fact that if it lives, you basically win the game in any constructed format. Um,
I'm sure there
that
could
is a
be.
big bit of
You
a
could probably put together a win the game right then, but I don't know if that's always true.
yeah.
It's interesting. I do think it is crazy powerful. I wasn't trying to downplay its power level, but
Yeah.
again, we talked about this earlier, but you're playing draft. You got to put cards in your deck that this can get that are worth doing this with. So you got to pick those out of the draft format. You got to get them. You got to put it together. It's got to be worth it, and it might not always be worth it for a card like this. I have picked this card before, but I have yet to actually play it in a deck because when I did pick it, I didn't have enough targets for it to be worth it, so I didn't play it.
Oh yeah, that's true. But we did see some, there are some really nice things you can do with it. For example, the creatures we saw before, all of
Yeah.
them would love to be cheated out with this and then
Petite
die,
Angel and yeah, and
Yeah.
the Mystic Sheep too. Uh,
Yeah.
these
Yeah.
are
All
these
of
are
that.
good cards with this. Yeah, absolutely.
And then there's also relinquished, funnily enough.
Yep.
You could cheat
It's
it.
funny that
But
you say
uh,
that. Fuck,
I
it's
don't think that would
crazy
be
with
good though.
Relinquished.
No, no, it wouldn't be because it would die. The shield counter doesn't protect it, right?
That doesn't
Um,
matter. You attack with it, you exile their creature, then you sacrifice Relinquished. They don't get their creature back.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, yeah, okay.
It
So
turns
you
Relinquished
got
into a
some, you
removal
got
spell.
some, you got some niche things you can do with it. You are right that you are paying 4 mana, and you can get blown out really, really easily if they have any sort of removal. So, um, wow, this is like super volatile. It
Yeah.
does like I'm glad that it's like um it dares to be powerful like the original, but also gives your opponent a chance to kill it beforehand. So
Yeah.
um, I would say in terms of playability, it's like a C plus,
Yeah.
honestly,
Yeah.
because like that's the best way I can say it. Because if it sticks around, it's really good, and if you have the setup for it. But if not, it just dies.
It's
and
such
then
an interesting
you're
card
sad.
because it's one of those
You know.
high risk, high reward cards. The ceiling is like you win the game. The floor is like your opponent kills you because you paid 4 mana for a 2/1, right? So like
Yeah.
I do love a card like this that has some interesting gameplay patterns, and I think that there is a big opportunity cost because you have to build your deck to make the best use of this card. Otherwise, it's horrible. Like it sucks to be like I paid 4 mana, I get a 1 drop and a 2 drop out of it, and only one of them provides me with permanent value. That's so bad! Like,
Yeah.
don't do that. But the upside is I get 2 3 drops that both have enters and die triggers, and I cast an emerge creature off of at least one of them or both of them. So I'm going to give this a C plus as well. But honestly, it could easily be an A, right? In the right deck, it's an A, and in decks that are not the right deck, it's like an F, right? So
Yeah.
maybe you're supposed to give it like a B plus and say you need to make this work, but you can pick it early,
Or a
thinking
D. Or
or
a
a D.
D.
No, stop. But if you pick this early, you can make it work. But only play it when you make it work. So put in the effort. Try and make this card really sing for your deck. It's also cool whenever you can protect it in some way. So if you're playing blue, white, and green, you can play counter spells, you can play protection spells, and keep it from dying. That's another way to handle this card. But then you have to hold up that much mana. You gotta have 6 mana, 5 or 6 mana to protect it. So it becomes a lot harder. Or you build a combo deck with it, and then you know that you play like Force of Will or Solemn Judgment, and so you have a 0 mana counterspell with this. That could be where you how you make it work. There's a lot of weird ways to make this card stick around, but I'm gonna actually go
Yeah.
with C plus as your pick rate for it because it's just asking so many things of you, but it's so worth it when you get there.
And this is another one that's probably gonna see a reprint in Edison, I'd guess.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Oh, it's
Of
so
course.
good with Synchro. So good with Synchro. All right, next card is Rescue Rabbit. This is
Oh,
the
look at
other
that. You
one
skipped
I
an
had
entire
heard
era.
of.
This is
Yes, I did. This is the other one I'd heard of, but I think I heard it from like YouTube videos or something. So these are the only two rescue ones in the set, but I just liked this one. Okay, in Yu-Gi-Oh, it's 4-star Earth Beast effect monster with 300 attack, 100 defense. Cannot be special summoned from the deck, and you can banish this face-up card you control. So now you got to exile it to special summon 2 level 4 or lower normal monsters. So this one won't let you get effect monsters with the same name. They have to have the same name from your deck, but destroy them during the end phase. You can only use this effect of Rescue Rabbit once per turn.
So this card named a deck. This card there was a deck called, so for context, you saw Rescue Cat before.
Yeah.
Konami realized, they made a mistake with it. Our bad. We made a really broken card. Let us make a version of this that is not as broken.
Uh-huh.
And then the Xyz era rolled around and they made this card, and it was so good it made another deck.
I mean, in
It's
Xyz, I can
called Dino
imagine it's just
Rabbits.
like, here,
Yeah,
let me
yeah.
get let me get my 4 rank 4. Is that what they're called?
Yeah,
Xyz
rank
out.
4. Yeah,
They just easy
yeah,
peasy.
yeah. It's
Crazy.
like the deck was called Dino Rabbit because you would, like, there was an Xyz monster that required specifically, there were some Xyz monsters that specifically required dinosaur monsters, level 4 dinosaurs. So you would
Mm.
get like the normal monster, dinosaur level 4 monsters, and you'd overlay them into these big dinosaur Xyz guys that negated monster effects and spell and trap activations and stuff. Yeah, and that deck dominated a little bit.
That's awesome.
Um, yeah, and this is the nerfed version in quotations
Yeah, that
in
still went
cat,
crazy.
and it only summons normal monsters, guys, and you have
Oh
to
yeah, it's
banish it,
totally
and it's only
fine.
once per turn. Yeah, and it still like was one of the best decks at the time. Yeah,
I think this one made it because
yeah.
it's also it was. Is it banned or is it still banned or no?
It's not banned anymore. I can assure you, but
Yeah,
I don't know if it was. I think it may have been banned back then. I'm not sure. I don't remember. I wasn't active during the Xyz era as much,
gotcha.
but I know it was a very big deal. I
All right,
remember.
so let's look at the magic version then, which is 3 green white for a 2/1 creature, rabbit, that has tap exile this creature. Search your library for up to 2 creature cards with mana value 4 or less that share a creature type and put them onto the battlefield, then shuffle. They gain haste, sacrifice at the beginning of the next end step. So this one changes things up. This costs 1 more mana, and it gets creatures that share a creature type. It gets 4 drops instead of only 3 drops. And so instead of having them have the same name like Rescue Rabbit, that's not going to happen in this set, right? This set, you're playing a singleton draft, so you wanted to, I wanted you to be able to get 2 things still, but this, I wanted to kind of mimic that they have to share something, and so that's why I went with they share a creature type. Now, just like the last one, where the last one negated their effects, this one, you don't have to do cards with no effect. You don't have to do normal monsters. Everything. So I just removed that restriction, so you still had good ways to use the card. But yeah, they have to share a creature type, which is a huge restriction compared to Rescue Cat. This one I think is definitely worse than the last one. It costing 1 more mana. 5 mana is a lot, and it still has the same stat line. You can't do anything tricky with it because it exiles itself, so you can't like have it bring itself back or whatever. There's a little bit more restriction since they have to share a creature type, but they still get haste. They're bigger. They're 4 drops, which means you could just be using this to attack for a big swing. That's cool. Similar situation, just worse, I think. It's similar but worse.
Yeah, I would honestly agree with you that this is definitely worse than Rescue Cat, especially 5 mana for a 2/1, and at that point they probably have some way to kill it, and uh, you know the whole the payoff is strong. It is strong, but I also like looked at this card in the context of the set and I was like, well, what am I realistically doing with this in the green white deck? You know, I'd much rather do the rescue cat. Like the rescue cat thing makes sense because all the stuff that you get with it is like small enough that you can merge with it and stuff
Yeah.
like that, and there's synergies. But the sharing a creature type too, it's rough. But
Yeah.
I like the homage to Rescue Rabbit.
Yep.
For sure.
Yeah, I think this
It's more
card
like
is.
a
Sorry, go ahead.
I think it's more like a fun inclusion, just because
Yeah.
we had the one guy, so we made the other guy in here.
And that was where I was at with it. I wanted to make a silly little thing here. Rescue Cat's good. You will pick it when you can do the thing, and it's pretty high risk, high reward. Rescue Rabbit's probably bad. You probably don't want to pick this very often. I would honestly give it an F, but
I'll give it
if
a
you
D. I'll give it a D.
if you make it work, tell me. I want to hear this happen because I know it's possible. There are a combination of cards you can put together to make this work. And remember, the turn that you're activating this or the other one, you have not spent any mana on that turn. So when it survives the next turn, you've spent 0 mana, you get all this stuff, and then you can use those things as material for Emerge, like we talked about before. You have all your mana to use on them. So that's where it's good.
Yeah.
But this one's just so much more restrictive in what it allows you to do, and it's expensive. That's why I give it an F. I don't think you really want to be trying this too often, but it's cool. It's a fun idea. I'd love to give it a try, but, you know, it can go get a Rescue Cat. But then you have to get another cat.
Rescue Cat, and then Rescue Cat can go gets haste.
That's
right?
true.
Yeah.
That's part of what it can do. Is like, all right, I'll go get my Rescue Cat, and then maybe like I'll go grab a changeling.
Like another cat, right?
You don't have to. It says up to. You could just get Rescue Cat.
Yeah, that's right. You play Rescue Rabbit so you can get the Rescue Cat.
Exactly. That's the good one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm gonna give this an F. Yeah. All right.
D.
That's fair. Next card, Totem Dragon, is a 2-star Earth Dragon effect monster with 400 attack and 200 defense. It says this card can be treated as 2 tributes for the tribute summon of a Dragon-type monster. If this card is in your graveyard during your standby phase and you control no monsters, you can special summon this card in attack position. You cannot activate this effect if there are any monsters in your graveyard that are not Dragon-type. If this card is special summoned with this effect, remove it from play when it is removed from the field.
Okay, so I am not sure if this card. I think this card was released after Treeborn Frog.
Yeah.
You know, it was in one structure. It was in a dragon structure deck.
Hmm.
This was one of the monsters where they tried to make tributes, more viable tribute summoning, and they were like, well, what about if you get this guy that comes back and you can tribute it for 2 if you want to summon a dragon? It was. I don't think it was ever competitively played.
Yeah.
But I think it was also released like after Treeborn, and Treeborn was like the holy grail of monsters that are tribute fodder. So they
Yeah.
were like, well, here's actually a nerfed version of that if you want to play with it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, has good
Yeah.
use for if you want some tribute fodder in a magic set, for example, you can look at this guy.
And so that's how we got green white for a 1/1 creature dragon with flying. Note that it is a dragon, so it helps with any of your white dragon synergies that you're playing with, and white does have a decent number of those. It says you may treat this creature's mana value as 3 when paying an emerge cost, so it just bumps it up by 1 if you're paying an emerge cost. It's kind of neat. And then it has green white. Put this card from your graveyard onto the battlefield with a finality counter on it. Activate this ability only if you control no creatures and only as a sorcery. So it's not amazing, but it does let you come back from no board. If you mill it into your graveyard or discard it, and then you have no board, you can then play it from your graveyard, essentially. It's like it has flashback, right? As long as you have no creatures.
Mm-hmm.
It's not amazing. It's kind of filler, but it's filler to pay for your emerge costs, is what you're doing with this card. You're trying to do some emerging with it. If your opponent kills your emerge creature, you can then still play this card again later from the graveyard. There are definitely cards I would rather be playing that do that. There are definitely cards I would rather have in my deck that are meant to be sacrificed to emerge, like those 2/3 drops we saw earlier. But this can also do it. If I don't have enough of the smaller creatures that I want to sacrifice to emerge, then I can play this card and it's okay. It's not amazing, but what do you think, Aaron?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I agree. I think the thing you said, treating it as 3, is a bit, underpowered, whatever. But that's fine. It does the trick most of the time. You just have like an emerge creature for 2 mana instead of like its normal 6 mana or whatever. You know,
Mm-hmm.
um, it's okay. Um, yeah, I like the other creatures more too. Like the 1/1 flyer is a bee sting at best.
Yeah, it's not really getting
Yeah,
there. So yeah,
I think it's a C minus or something, or maybe yeah,
I'm
C
going
minus
D.
up to yeah,
I think it's a
fine.
D
Yeah,
because it also requires you to pay green white. You have to pay exactly that
yeah,
mana, and so you're not always going to be able to do that on turn 2 reliably unless you have
yeah.
like perfect mana fixing. So I'm going with D for this
Hmm.
card. You pick it when you don't have enough cards to sacrifice to emerge. That's the only time you'll pick it, I think.
Yeah.